Okay. All right. Yeah. So I feel good now, man. It is a great way to start my day with the hand clap. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. It is morning. It's morning somewhere. I know it's morning here where I am right now. You are listening to The Urban Therapist, and I am your host, Eddie Jean Hall Jr. And joining me today, as always, is my good friend and the co-host of The Urban Therapist, Mr. Lewis Rhodes. How you doing today, Lou?
I'm button pressing.
Okay. You are button pressing. Okay. You own it this morning, man. You know all the little sound buttons you got over there. How many of those different things you got over there, man?
Only about 10, but I'm gonna have to add some.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to ask. We're gonna have to see what else you got.
Right.
But at least I got the hand clap now, right? That was mine.
Right.
Okay, cool. So listen, again, we want to thank you for joining us for another edition of The Urban Therapist. Again, I'm your host, Eddie Jean Hall Jr. with Mr. Lewis Rhodes. And today we've got another good topic for you this morning. Today we want to talk about the different faces of homelessness. Now, I know it's something you may hear about a lot and you see on TV, but I think it's one of those things that we take for granted and we don't really realize how serious a problem it is. Because some of us, we see the person on the corner at the intersection, saying we'll work for food or, asking for some money. And when we think of homelessness, a lot of times we don't really understand how people became homeless, who are the homeless. We stereotype homeless people. And so today we want to get a little personal with it. We want to talk about it. We want to make you think. And we've got a very special guest on our show today to really give us a true perspective of homelessness and how it affects so many different people. But before we get started, Lou, I got a video clip that I want us to show. And we got a couple that we're going to show today. But I want to start with this one. And it's dealing with a part or a portion of the homeless crisis in Cleveland, Ohio. But what I want you to pay attention to is the person. I want you to pay attention to this video. And I want you to really listen to what this person has to say. Everybody has to say in there about how they're dealing with this topic of homelessness in their life. Here we go.
So you do the best you can so that you can get elevated, so you can help elevate someone else.
She goes by the name Shay Shay, a Cleveland homeless woman living here at this growing encampment at East 19th and Payne Avenue. Now living in a tent because she says the lease at her apartment wasn't renewed because she raised living condition issues with her former landlord and lost her job.
This is what the situation is. There are no room in the shelters right now.
But business owners like Ronnie Stepka, who runs an apartment building for CSU students next to this growing encampment, say some of the homeless living here are jeopardizing safety and their businesses.
I'm a Christian man, and I believe in doing the right thing all the time. But nobody wants to grow up or live next to drug deals going down, prostitution going down.
Stepka, who has owned the apartment building for 4 years, says the growing number of homeless has cost him tens of thousands of dollars, with CSU students now only occupying 1/4 of the available units here. Stepka says the city needs to do more to get the homeless the help they need.
You get to the point here where you see what we see, that nothing is changing. They're just kicking the can down the road, and it's going to progressively get worse.
But the reality is, affordable housing is hard to access in their community. There's not enough of that.
Chris Nestrick, executive director with the Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless, says his agency is providing support and outreach to get the homeless here back into independent living. But that takes time and resources, and police intervention won't help.
This isn't a problem that can be solved by police, right? This isn't a criminal problem. It's a problem of housing. It's a problem of of behavioral health issues. It's many of these problems.
The city of Cleveland has responded providing garbage cans at the encampment site, but it says providing permanent bathroom facilities here will take a few more months.
We're hoping by the end of the summer that we get those facilities up and running, and it has taken longer than we would have hoped.
Meanwhile, Shay Shay says she is hoping to find an apartment that will accept her rental voucher and reestablish employment in the coming weeks.
So I feel like I'm still blessed in the situation that I am in. We are blessed to be alive, yet this is a hell of a blessing.
A hell of a blessing.
Right.
Here's a statistic I want to share before we bring on our guests. On a given night in 2022, at least over 582,462 people experienced homelessness in the United States. Then the stat goes on to say, throughout the calendar year of 2020, an estimated 1.2 million people occupied emergency shelters, transitional housing programs, or safe havens. 1.2 million people in the United States. We're going to get more into this video as we go through the show, because a lot of things came out in there, talked about crime, talked about the property owner, and talked about the young lady who's trying to make it and had certain situations and circumstances come up. I want to talk about these three people, these three entities, how they all interact. Boy, I got some stuff I want to say, but I want to bring the expert in on this to help us walk through this. She is a good friend of mine, Miss Jaime Bryant Williams. Miss Jaime Bryant Williams is the Director of Social Services at the City Rescue Mission in Jacksonville, Florida. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. I'm doing pretty good this morning.
And Jaime, you deserve that applause. I was looking at over the bio that you sent me. You have been working at the City Rescue Mission since 1998.
Yes.
Wait a minute,
A lot of people say I came in diapers. That's the joke, the running joke here at the mission. So yeah, I've been here a long time.
I have to agree. I mean, you had to come and die because man, listen, you were sharing that formula with some other people while you was helping them out, man. 20 since what? Is that over 20 years?
Yeah. October officially will be 24, I believe. 24, 25, something like that.
Listen, you deserve that applause we gave and so much more. That is fantastic. 24 years?
Wow.
Okay, so 24 years with the City Rescue Mission. I'm looking and you worked your way up through the system. Let me see here. It says that you got your bachelor's in sociology with a minor in social welfare, and you got a master's in public administration. And you took all that to the City Rescue Mission, started out as a case manager, supervisor, and now director of social services. So I don't even know where I want to start with you, because I'm just so excited. I'm serious to have you here today. And so why don't we start with, I want to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about the City Rescue Mission itself. And then I want to get into specifically what you do. And then I want to get into this video.
Okay. All right. So I do want to start with, I actually started at our thrift store, which is a huge component of the City Rescue Mission. So, oftentimes people will say, what drew you to the mission? And I'm like, a job. But so I came and I was in college. And so I just learned so much about the organization that I actually changed my major. My major was elementary education. And
Get
I
out of
got
here.
to start, yeah. And so working at that thrift store, I got to start working alongside people that were currently in our residential recovery program. And
Hmm.
so it just tweaked my interest so much that I changed my major to sociology. And then I just kind of just fell in love with the organization, and it just continued to grow and grow and grow. But the City Rescue Mission,
Wait a minute, so
we
hold
do
on real
have.
quick, because I want to just share because I love this. Hey Lou, remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about volunteering?
Mhm.
So let me get this straight. You started working in the thrift store at the City Rescue Mission.
Yes.
Your career path was
Mhm.
education,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and because of a job that you took just to
Mm-hmm.
start working and doing a little something to help, you
Yeah.
started getting more involved and volunteering more at the City Rescue Mission itself.
Yes. Yes, it
Wow.
was. Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't understand missions. Everybody has addictions in their families, but even though it may be in your family, you don't understand it. But to be out there and I work primarily with the men in our program and just working
Okay.
alongside them and hearing their stories. And it was just like, wow. And the more I heard their stories and how they went from just some of the things that happened in their life, and they turned to drugs, they turned to alcohol, and just it just like really touched my heart. And I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. I really want to help people to transition out of this because they need help. And so, that was probably like after a year or two, I changed my major. And
Okay.
so,
Wow.
because
Mm.
people, you kind of know what you want to do, but I just think working at like I said, our thrift store and just loading a truck and
Mm.
someone talking to you. It
Yeah.
was like that,
So
sorting clothes. Everything from people that were doing community service, women that were doing community service for their benefits, and listening. We're hanging clothes and listening to their stories, and
mm.
also being able to listen from a standpoint of judgment because I
Okay.
hear your whole story. I
Mm-hmm.
don't just hear,
Okay.
that, your previous lifestyle or what you were doing to make ends meet, but to actually sit, to be able to work alongside you and hear your whole story and to
And I
know.
like that, Jamie,
Mhm,
because a lot of times, Lou, I think when we look at people who are homeless or who may be struggling, we don't understand that there's a whole story.
Right.
mhm,
We just look at them in the now and in
mhm,
that minute, and then we judge them based on that minute. But Jamie,
mhm,
what I love how you said by your being there, you were able to get the whole story. And I think so
mhm.
many more of us need to understand
Yeah.
it takes time to get that whole story.
Mhm,
And when we get that
mhm,
whole story, we can be more compassionate, more
mhm,
empathetic, and be willing to do more. And wow, this led to you committing
mhm.
your childhood and your teenage years.
Right. You changed your whole course of
Yeah.
a career path. That's
Yes.
incredible. That's
Mhm,
incredible. And yeah, just
Wow.
like Eddie was saying, I mean, it's unfortunate. Homelessness is still a major problem in all of our communities, right? It doesn't
mhm,
matter what city, what
mhm,
state, homelessness is still very much a thing. And those who serve publicly oftentimes try and paint homelessness with a certain brush. They try
yeah,
and say, "Oh, they're lazy. They don't want to
mhm,
work. They could just pull themselves up by their bootstraps." We use a lot of colloquialisms to
mhm.
try and give it a blank face.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
like you said, every homeless story is different and unique,
Yes.
and how the
Yeah.
person wound up there has a lot to do with a set of actions and or consequences
Mhm,
that wound them up there. So we can't brush paint this with a broad brush and say, oh well, they just need to try harder, right?
mhm.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
often a lot of other complications involved for each person.
Yes.
Which leads us back to Jamie. You so with your origin story now with the City Rescue Mission. So now, how and tell us a little bit about how the City Rescue Mission fits in to this in
Yes.
working with the homeless. And I dare say you all not only work with the homeless, but you work with anybody that needs help. But go ahead.
Yes.
What y'all
Yes.
do?
So from my department standpoint, so yes, we offer several services. So we have two residential recovery programs that deal with people that are struggling with substance abuse and alcohol dependency. So then that's our faith-based program, Life Builders. And then we have a Department of Corrections, non-secure. It's this whole long name, but this is a diversion program. But people are court-ordered to that program because they have a felony drug-related crime. And so in that program is called Crossroads. And then we
Okay.
have our Overcomers Shelter program, and that is for men, women, and women with children who are currently experiencing homelessness. And what we have been able to assess with the individuals in Overcomers is that it's not due to substance abuse. So that is due to all of those other issues out there that have brought them to a place of homelessness. And then beyond that, we have transitional housing. So once someone completes our residential recovery programs or they're in our overcomer shelter, as well as we work with other local shelters and programs as well. So if they have someone who needs transitional housing, and when we say transitional housing, we're talking about affordable housing for someone who are not quite ready, especially if it's substance abuse, which those are a majority of the people that are in our transitional homes. If it's substance
Okay.
abuse, they're not quite ready to go out into the world and get their own apartment. They need a safe environment. And believe it or not, a lot of times people like coming to a transitional type of setting such as ours because they know that we're going to drug test them. And right now they're saying, I still need that. I still need to know that
Mm.
I'm going to be drug tested because I don't feel that I'm there yet, because nobody else is going to be looking over my shoulder. And so,
So
mhm.
no, no, go ahead. I
Yeah.
want you to keep your point. I'll come back. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so, and then with those programs, with our residential recovery programs, excuse me, we have individual counseling and individual case management. We have caseworkers for those programs, and for our shelter program, we have a caseworker, but who also provides, counsel, but majority casework services. And then
Okay.
at our campuses, we have a medical clinic, we have a dental clinic, and we have a chiropractic clinic. Then we offer meals,
Good
3 meals a
Lord.
day to everyone. Yeah, we try to be a one-stop shop to the best of our ability because we know that when someone comes to us, there's so many barriers that they need to overcome. And
Mhm.
like that safety, survival, dignity, it starts there. And
So let,
so,
let me let me jump in real quick. I got to jump in right here. I mean, listen, I'm sitting here taking notes with what all you're saying, and I I really, if I could put you in slow mo so you can share these things again, I'm serious, man, because I don't want our listeners to miss the magnitude of the services that you all are offering, because a lot of times I think when people think of the mission, any
Mhm,
mission in any city somewhere, they think of the soup line, passing out food, and that's about the extent. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying?
mhm.
But I heard you just say you all have two
Mhm.
residential programs.
Yes.
Then you have a state sponsored program where you're actually working with the state to
Mhm,
help cut down the recidivism rate. So you're
mhm.
working in conjunction with the state
Yes.
in dealing with substance abuse, which is a
Yes.
big problem. Okay. And then your overcomers, you have a program for men, you have a program for women, and you have a program for women with children.
Yes.
I wanted to slow it because a lot of places do not have programs for women with children.
Mhm, mhm,
And the transitional housing piece that you had said that you have, as we just saw in the clip a little earlier, being able to afford somewhere to live where I'm trying to get on my feet if I'm coming out of a homeless
mhm.
situation. is difficult.
Yeah.
So you all do all that.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Because I mean, there's so much, and even with everything that we do, at the end of the day, it doesn't completely solve the problem. We're just, I mean, we don't, not to pat ourselves on the back. We are a great part of the solution. It's just that the problem is so enormous.
Right.
What's going on in our country is just, it's enormous, the amount of people who, even when you think about the faces, like we said earlier, of
Mhm.
homelessness, you know unfortunately, when people don't understand what they see or what's actually going on, they think that it's like one category of people. I was in a meeting the other day.
Yeah.
They think, and I thought it was so neat. Well, not neat, but it said like 30% of people experiencing homelessness in like our kind of surrounding counties, 30% of them are employed. Like
Did you
when
say
you think
30% are employed?
30% are employed,
So that's
and so
like 3 out of 10.
yes, and so you have 30% of someone who is homeless. So this is someone who's, whether they're in our programs, on the street, or couch surfing somewhere. Like it's a 2-bedroom apartment, and then in that 2-bedroom apartment, you have 5 people living there. And so that person's employed, but here's the issue. It's not simply that they're employed, oftentimes is that they're underemployed. It's either, so if they're underemployed, they're not making enough. So that person that you see on the side of the street who's panhandling, a lot of times in homelessness, and someone being homeless and a panhandler, those are not always the same. This that
Can you
just
say that
because you see
again?
them on the street, that doesn't mean
Can
that they're homeless.
Can you say
That
that again?
just because you see somebody on the street and they're asking you for
Okay.
money, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're homeless. All panhandlers are not homeless. And so that person could be someone who gets up every day and they're going to work. They have enough money to keep a roof over their head, but they don't have enough money for a meal every day or 3 meals every day. So in another service that we offer every evening at 4:30, we have a meal line for anyone who wants to come for a meal. And the thing about our meal and our services, outside of our Crossroads program, that's the state funded program. Outside of that program, all of the rest of our programs, in our transitional housing, of course, we need more information there because someone is staying with us. But our shelter program, our Life Builders program, and our meal line, they're very low barrier programs, and that's intentional
So
because
when you say low barrier, what do you mean by low barrier?
we have very few rules. Any rules that we have is that they are based on safety. So,
Okay.
because our goal is to get you in as soon as possible. We get you in and we'll work through everything else. Once you come in and you're in our shelter, then we start working on identification. Then we start working on case management. But while you're here, one of the first things is to make sure you have a safe bed. Make sure you have a meal to eat. Make sure you have clean clothing. Make sure you're able to shower. Just those basic things that we tend to take for granted. So, kind of going back to the person that's on the street, he or she can have a job and it keeps a roof over their head at a rooming house somewhere, but
Okay.
that's about as far as their money stretch.
So the definition of homelessness, then, from what you're sharing with me, is not necessarily being out in the street.
No.
It is also not being able to have adequate housing to meet my needs.
Yes. Yes.
I want to transition, I want to transition. We're going to stay on that point, and I think we're going to pivot just a little bit because there's another clip that I want to show Lou.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about how we view homelessness and the people that we think of, I want to show this next clip, Jamie,
Mhm.
dealing with what is said to be another growing population of
Mm,
homelessness. And this is homeless youth. So, Lou,
mm,
you got that set up for me?
I'm ready.
There are staggering new statistics on homelessness in Los Angeles County. The latest count released Wednesday shows there are nearly 58,000 homeless people in LA County, up 23% from last year. Experts say the high cost of living is a major factor. A growing number of people on the streets are children and young adults. Maria Villarreal has more on this.
What did you expect when you got here?
Palm trees and sunny days.
18-year-old Yums Garner says he came to Los Angeles to escape the drugs and gangs in his hometown. But once here, he wound up on the streets.
I try to sleep on rooftops. That's the safest place.
How hard has it been for you, though, to find a job?
Pretty hard to find a job, find a place to live, that's even harder.
Garner is among a growing population of young people between the ages of 13 and 24 who are homeless and alone without the guidance of a parent or guardian. Many of them ran away from abusive families.
It's been pretty rough out here.
Drake Hudson says he left home after getting into several arguments with his parents.
What's your day like?
It's been mainly just focused on getting food, and that's pretty much it. It's just food.
Some studies estimate there are between 1.6 and 2.8 million unaccompanied homeless youth across the country, but no one knows for sure. So this year, the Department of Housing and Urban Development is focused on getting a more accurate count.
How long have you been homeless this time?
I've been homeless about 2 months.
Volunteer counters, some homeless themselves, recently canvassed LA and other cities in search of homeless youth. But finding them can be difficult, says USC Associate Professor Eric Rice.
Oftentimes what homeless youth will do is they will be sleeping on a friend's couch for a couple of nights. They'll then be sleeping on an underpass for a night. And they don't want to be associated with homelessness. They don't want it to be their identity. And so they do everything that they can to appear to be just a normal 20-year-old, because they are a normal 20-year-old.
Advocates say the count's results will mean more federal funding for programs aimed at helping these young people. HUD's goal is to end youth homelessness by 2020. Garner hopes it's a lot sooner.
There just needs to be more people caring, like more people realizing the situation that we're in and that we're not all bad people.
Mireya Villarreal, CBS News, Los Angeles.
I think that sums up what you were just saying, Jamie. In that video, everything that you just said, they're sleeping on a friend's couch sometimes. They don't want to be identified as homeless because of how, as a society, we have stigmatized people who are trying to make it. Wow. And I'm going to be honest with you. Until, I started looking into this topic, prepared for the night, youth between the 8 years of 18 and 24, I just really never thought about young adults as, I just never really knew how bad it was till I started doing my homework. Here's another stat right here. It says families are the fastest growing segment of the homeless population, accounting for almost 40 to 50% of the nation's homeless. So based on what you shared with us earlier in this clip, I mean, we got families staying with families because they can't afford their own place.
That's correct. Yeah, I was gonna speak from the education side, and that's exactly what's happening in our schools. Those kids are right there, in classes with other kids, and they are homeless, and we have to give them special supports because they don't have traditional homes to go to.
Jamie, are you all seeing that in the City Rescue Mission? Are you seeing that group, that 18 to 24-year-old group coming through in some of your programs?
So youth and homelessness is just as complicated as homelessness with any other population. I do want to comment, just to kind of say, I went to LA and I walked Skid Row.
Okay.
That is one of the most devastating things that you could ever see. What we saw there, and that's like a vision that I think I probably would take with me forever, to see that many people. And then I even asked the question at one point, how many people like die on Skid Row yearly, and it's in the hundreds. of
Wow.
people that die. I mean, we were on a tour of the LA missions there, and so there's a lot of people, and I am pretty sure there's a lot of lost youth that are there. Now, the thing that's specific to 18 to 24-year-olds. So, yes, in our residential recovery programs, we have young people that come into those particular programs. Again, when you're talking about being court ordered, that's, they've been identified because they got caught committing a crime. Our life builders, that's more optional. If they want to get help. So, from a substance abuse specifically, we have young people that come. That's still not a large number, but I am noticing in the last few years, the faces in our residential recovery programs are getting younger. For years, you were talking about like 35 as being like the youngest of a group of someone that was coming into long term residential recovery. But now, they're getting younger and the drugs are getting stronger and they're and it's so many deadly chemicals that are in it, so it's almost like they're overdosing at such a high rate, when it comes to young people. But when you talk about just homelessness that may not necessarily be associated with substance abuse, you have to think about where this child is coming from. And I say child 18 to 24, think about us, 18 to 24. Yeah, that was a designation given to us that said that we're adults. But let's look at the truth of this. We were not adults. If it takes the average person to like their mid 20s for their brains to fully function, so yes, on paper, I am 18 to 24 years old. But if you look at the trauma that a homeless youth has experienced, if you look at the home life that they are coming from, between the 18 and 24, yes, they've been identified in that age range, but so much has happened prior to them reaching 18 that you're really dealing with someone who is potentially 12, 13, or 14 years old. So when you take that dynamic of a young person who's already experienced an enormous amount of trauma, and then you tell them, because now people aren't safe to me. You think about that person. What they're saying is people aren't safe to me. And so now you want me to go into another setting of people that I don't know, and a good percentage
Right.
there are older than me. I don't think they're going to understand me. I don't feel safe. So if they can't couch surf, which actually happens, they're couch surfing, they may actually opt to stay on the street because at least on the street, I have this false sense of control of my environment. And I say it's a false sense of control because they really don't have it. But again, we're talking about a 12, 13, or 14 years old. And when you're looking at that group, you are looking at, yes, there's a substance abuse component, but there's a trauma component. Now let's also look at human trafficking. You have young people that you see on the street, and to you, you think that that's just a young person that's on the street, but you don't know that they are currently being trafficked at that moment. You have a young girl who right now has a trafficker who is somewhere in the vicinity watching her, and so and he's safety for her regardless of what he's done to her, how many times he sold her over and over again. And they're finding that, I mean, we're finding that that's a growing population right now, because if you think of drugs and you think of people, you sell a drug one time, you can sell a person over and over and over again because you can continue to use them over and over and over again. And the trafficker is not looking for anyone that's over, they don't want an older person, they want a younger person that they can manipulate. And so we do see them coming into our residential recovery programs, but when it comes to like shelter or anything like that, they're afraid. They're scared. They're scared of who is in the shelter. And again, everybody at this point, potentially in their life, that said, I love you, I care about you, they've hurt them. And so they don't even understand the importance of rules. Rules is just another restriction, that's on them.
Right.
Now, there have been some positive moves, like when you think about the foster care system. So there,
Okay.
the foster care system, they have attempted to implement more services when someone turns 18, because that was another group that for years someone turns 18 and they've been in the foster care system,
Then they're kicked out.
they're kicked out. Now people will say, well,
Yeah.
no, that's not true, because they can get a free ride to college and they can get this. Again, if you have a kid who has had two great parents, who provided for them, who loved them, who cared for them properly, and a kid that grew up in that type of environment chooses not to go to college. Okay, structure and everything, just on their own, they choose not to go to college. Why is it you think that a kid who has been bounced around from home to home, facing all types of potential abuse and all of that, you think that that kid is going to say, oh yeah, I want to go to college? And so it's like our unrealistic expectations of what we think a young person is going to do when we don't even understand why they do what they do. They
And so this
Yeah.
so this ties into, so when we talk about the multiple faces of
Mhm.
homelessness,
Yes.
it is not just somebody that's lazy, somebody that doesn't want to try.
Oh no.
You got you everything that you just shared about what some young people go through,
Mhm.
and then not even being able to reach out for the help they need because they're afraid they're going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in the unsafe environments. Wow. So, and it's important for us to understand is homelessness is more complicated
Yes.
than we think, because you
Yes.
brought up everything from childhood trauma to substance abuse. I'm looking here at another stat. It says more than 90% of homeless mothers
Mm.
report they had been physically or sexually abused over their lifetimes.
Yes. Yes.
So we've got all these different threads running through people's lives, and all this can lead to this issue of what we have, or what is called homelessness.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Jamie, before we let you go, and I really thank you for joining us today. I want to briefly look at that video. We're not going to look at it again, but the video that we showed today earlier. Hey, Lewis, I want you to join us on this one real quick, because in that video there was a lot going on. Okay, we had the young lady Shay Shay,
Mm-hmm.
who said she lost her apartment, she lost her place where she was living because she challenged the landlord on work that needed to be done. Then she lost her job.
Mm.
Then we had the business owner, the apartment building owner, who said, or the narrator said, who's lost tens of thousands of dollars because of the homeless situation. And then we have the the property owner saying the city should do more. I'm looking at, we've got the person trying, and I'm not being judgmental because I'm not the business owner, but one of the things that came to my mind, if you've lost tens of thousands of dollars
Right.
because of this homeless situation close to your property, you just lost money.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying the city needs to do more. And so, Jamie, I'm directing this towards you and Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
as working in the public school system. Where do those of us come in who are not working, where the two of you are working and dealing with this every day? Where do we come in at, as far as what do we need to do? Because I'm listening and I'm saying to myself, well, man, you're losing money. That means you got money, but you want the city to do something and want the school to do something. What can you do? So, what do you all see as what can private citizens do more to help?
I mean, so I would first say, get educated. You
Okay.
know, we had in 2022, so this was last year, I'm sorry, no, 2021. There was an encampment that grew in downtown Jacksonville. It was it was
I
city
remember that.
property. Yes, and so it became such I mean, it was called Tent City because it was a city. There was a city, and people that don't understand the problem, they were trying to help, but they possibly didn't realize that they were kind of enabling the situation, because what you had someone who had, we never really identified who gave out all of these tents, but I'm telling you, it was like, I can't remember the exact number, but I would say it was on average about 200 tents that were out there on this lot.
And
And
this was in the
so
middle of Jacksonville.
yes, yes. And it just, and I remember going to work and just seeing it grow and grow and grow
Right.
and grow and grow. And I have to give kudos to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, because what happened was it became such an issue that they had to clear the property. So the city came to us, City Rescue Mission, and they asked that we come up with a plan. There was a gentleman who donated a warehouse. It was a warehouse for 30 days, at no cost. And there was the city asked us, and then there was a collaboration by all the social service agencies that we all got together. And then we opened up this warehouse. And in 30 days, there was an average of 200 people that came in and out, of the shelter. We had cots, different between us and Clara White Mission, I am Salzbacher. We all were providing transportation. We were providing meals. We had different employers come in and set up tables to help people find employment. We had the other social service agencies coming in helping with housing. And on the very last day, we had anywhere from 15 to 20 people that were left because we were closing the shelter. It was like 15 to 20 people that were left, and every one of them was placed in housing somewhere. And
So,
so,
so what you tell me, it was a combination of, you said that man who
mhm.
owned the warehouse, he didn't
Yeah,
work for the city.
nope,
He didn't work for the city rescue mission.
nope.
He donated
Hmm.
his facility, his
Hmm.
time. So he lost money for those 30 days,
Yes.
but he gained because he was helping to deal with this issue. And and wow. But see, that's that combination.
Hmm.
We can't depend on, just say we can't just depend on the city, and we just can't depend on organizations like yourself
Right.
or people working in the school system themselves, and we just can't sit back and say, what y'all gonna do about it?
Hmm.
Right.
No.
Y'all need to do more.
I
Hmm.
was gonna say that collaboration is another thing that's needed,
Yeah.
because it's no one entity's problem. It's all of our problem. It's
Hmm.
all of our challenge, I should say. It's not even, we don't want to address it as a problem, but again, it's like for one group of people, we actually had a similar tent city situation here in Gainesville,
Hmm. Yeah.
Jamie, and it was kind of the same thing. It's like one group of people thought they were doing good by giving them tents, but then
Hmm.
all you did was create a new challenge of this community that was it was like the Wild West over
Hmm.
there, and
Mm.
all kinds of crazy and evil things would happen in the place that they called the tent city,
Hmm.
because it was basically almost like a community of just homeless people, and now who had at least enough of a space to try and we have to remember that's what's happening, is they're surviving.
Yes.
So really what every person needs is a rehabilitation plan to reintegrate them. And so again, when you say, well, this person who is probably homeless because of drugs, right? Whereas
Hmm.
this other person who is homeless because of underemployment,
Hmm.
you can't treat them with the same brush. And that's what I was saying
No.
is some people need financial rehabilitation. They need job,
Stop.
career employment, but they also need education on how do you prevent
Hmm.
yourself from falling back into the same traps. Other people have other habits and other challenges. So that's what I think when I say it takes a village. It's like all of the services have to really shake hands and collaborate on, hey, we can work together to address the problem, and that even goes down to the school system, because again, we have this other problem. It's a vicious cycle of homelessness, right? So people who grow up in that environment are more prone to pass it on to the people that they live with and the people who are surrounding, because it's almost like they don't know how to get out of it.
Wow. And I'm telling you, I had the privilege for a few months to, I think for about maybe a year or two, to work with the City Rescue Mission about 5 or 6 years ago. And looking back now on my experience and what I'm trying to do now as a mental health professional, and what the two of you have just shared, the problem is not itself is not going to go away because of the way our world is designed the way it is. But if we get involved and decide, we can make a difference in our corner of dealing with this. And I like something you both said, Jamie and Lewis, and you both said some people with Jamie, you said you don't know where these people got these tents from. But somebody said, "Oh, you don't have a place to live? Let me give you a tent." And they thought that was it. And so and that's the first. So they were putting a Band-Aid on a wound. To their credit, they were trying to do something. But you both said something. Get educated. So what I want to encourage anybody to do, if you want to help the homeless or those who are, just don't jump out and start doing. We want you to get in touch with organizations who are structured and who do this, and get educated, because there is a proper way to work and to help in order to help people, because the goal is to help people to break out of whatever they may be dealing with.
Yes.
And so like Lou said, for some of us, it may have been substance abuse or alcoholism or running from an abusive relationship that caused homelessness. For others, it may be, I just got laid off. I lost my job, or I had hospital bills that were astronomical, and I lost everything that I had. So I want to encourage anybody that's listening, and everybody that's listening today, homelessness is more than passing out food. If you're a mental health professional, you can volunteer your time. If you can give an hour a week or an hour a month to help do some counseling, to help do some intakes, I'm sure there are organizations in your city that would love to have you there. The thing is, you got to follow their rules, though. You can't go in, this is how I do it. This is how they do it. Donate your time to do it that way. If you are a homeowner or if you own property, listen, you know what? And then I know we got to go. And I'm not going to mention the person's name because he is very well renowned for his books and the things that he does. But I heard him say one time on a talk show, he said they were talking about we were talking about the situation. They were talking about the situation during COVID when rent went up and housing and all this, and he owns properties and all this. And how did he put it? He was like, well, I have the right to raise my property, the cost of living. I have the right to do it. I have the God-given right to do it. And I'm sitting there going to myself, you have the right, but do you have to do it? He was basically saying he was riding the wave of the housing shortage. And so he was going to make as much money as he could. And he had the right to do it as a Christian. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you do. But you also got the right to try to, minimize and see what you could do to help. So I'm asking, if you're out there and you're in the real estate, see what you could do to help.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that you got to take a big L or anything like that, but maybe you can take a small L, and you can help some people who really need a place to live. And like Jamie, you were saying, there's some people, they want to be drug tested because they want to stay on point. They're trying. Everybody out there is not trying to get over. Some people really just want to do better, and they need your help.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry that I had to throw that in because
Mm-hmm.
when I heard that from him, and then even when I heard this guy on the video, the first video, uh, the percentage of his apartments that are empty. Well,
Mm-hmm.
dude, if you talk with the city and maybe get with the state and the feds, and the lady said she's trying to find a place that will
Mm-hmm.
take her voucher, and there's an apartment building right behind her that's
Mm-hmm.
half empty.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, listen, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today. Miss Jaime Bryant Williams, Director of Social Services for the City Rescue Mission in the great city of Jacksonville, Florida. And Jamie, give a shout out to some of your crew there, your director and some of your other, who's the CEO now of the City Rescue Mission?
Yes, we have a great team here. So our executive director is Mr. Paul Stasi. He has been in social services. Well over, say half his. Goodness, I don't want to tell his age, which I'm pretty
No,
sure
don't
he
tell
doesn't
us age.
know.
He's just been doing this for a long
I'm just
time, man.
saying
All
that
right.
he has such
That's
strong
right.
faith that even when he tells his age, you're like, really? Because
Okay.
he's such a strong man of faith. But yeah, Mr. Paul Stasi, he's been with the City Rescue Mission for several years now. Has a great heart for the organization, has a great heart for people, and just he has a great faith that anybody can change. You just have to open up the door for them. We have our director of development, Dr. Angela Washington. So she
Okay.
oversees all of our fundraising, PR, and all of that. And then we actually have a new director of business administration. He's just came on board. His name is William Spencer. And so we are the directors here at the City Rescue Mission, all of us falling under Paul Stasi. And then I just have a great staff, my social service staff. I have 4 managers that report to me directly, and we have just a lot of frontline staff. And so, look, we work together. We
I
play
believe it.
together. We love each other, and which of course is not always usual in what we do. But we realize that if we're not healthy together, there's no way we can help the people that we serve. So we're
Well,
a great organization, and we're doing great things, and we're just looking forward to what God has in store for us, because we know that even more doors are going to be open, and we want to keep our beds full. Our
okay. Well,
objective is
listen.
every bed is full. Yeah.
We want to help you keep them. Listen, and anyway, that here on the Urban Therapist, that please feel free. We'd love to be a format and for you and the different programs. Maybe what we can do next time is have you on, and you can talk about more specifically
Mhm.
a program. And so maybe hey Lou, let's look at having Jamie back, and let's target and have a few minutes so you could just talk about a program, because what we want to do, you gave us a whole list, a whole view
Yeah.
of City Rescue Mission. Now we want to get next time have you back and talk specifics so people can know even more specifically and more detail about the different residential programs, crossroads, your transitional housing, because they may want to help, because everybody is not fit for every program.
Yeah.
But as they get to know them, they can figure out which ones they maybe want to help out. And Jamie, what we're going to do at the end of the show, after we do our closing, we found a clip on your website
Mhm.
of the video of the history of the City Rescue Mission. So we're going to play some of that so the folks can have it. And we want to thank you again. But before you go, Jamie, we want you to stay with us for one more thing.
Okay.
Through the course of a week, sometimes things just happen that makes a person say, WTF. Has a where's that from that we close out the show with. So Lou, where's that from today, man? What you got today?
Right. And I know you didn't prepare Jamie for where's that from, did you? Because Jamie's like, I don't know where this is about to go. No,
I'm sorry, Jamie. I saw her face. She was like,
she's like, this show's about to take an interesting twist.
Yeah.
But no, we know out in
Paul was about
the
good.
out in the social world, WTF means something different. but on our
But for
show,
us
it
here on
means
Urban
where's
Therapist,
that from? So it just
Okay.
usually means we're going to find something that's happening out in the world and
Okay.
comment on it. And then sometimes that thing is to be poked fun of. Today, I
Okay.
actually chose something a little bit more on the sentimental side. So there we
Okay.
go. So here we go. I'm going to show you a little bit about. Have you guys heard of Heaven's Receptionist?
only on that movie on the Twilight Zone.
So there is a woman. She's actually a former Miss New York, right? And she has created a viral sensation with videos where she pretends that she's the receptionist for heaven, right? So as you come to the pearly gates, she's the one who greets you to get you in, right? And the interesting thing is, it started off as kind of comical humor, but it has really become touching, and it's actually helping people cope with their grief. So I'm going to show you one of her classic videos. She has a whole video series, right? But I'm going to show you one of her videos, and you'll get the gist of what she's doing and how it's pretty impressive. If you feel a tear falling from your eye, it's okay.
Wow. Okay.
Huh? Oh, I know. I'm surprised to see me here too. It's because I don't usually do the night shift. No, I'm exhausted. I'm doing a double because I took Miss Stacy's shift tonight. We're expecting somebody really special tonight, and I didn't want to miss him. You know, you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, you know. So, oh, okay. So here she comes now. Yeah, no, I got this one. Hi. Oh, she's shy. That's all right. It's okay to be shy, but don't be frightened. See, I know you. You're Ella Rose. I'm Denise. Can I shake your hand? Okay. It's good to meet you. See, I know you. Some people you love very much, who love you very much, let me know you'd be coming up to see me today. You and I are going to be great friends. I know the people you want to see are downstairs, but in a long time from now, it's going to feel like a long time to them, but not to you. They're going to be up here with you. In the meantime, you get to play. You can be anybody you want to be. But more importantly, you're never going to be alone. Not only am I here, but there's a whole gaggle of angels that are so happy to have you. So, Miss Ella Rose, let me think. Would you want to play princess? Okay, putting that on your file too. Princess, likes to play it. Noted. Well, we've actually got some real princesses up here. A couple of them really want to meet you. Hang on. Will you page Diana? Get Diana up here. We got some real princesses that want to meet you. So, I'm going to hand it to me. Come here. I'm going to put you down. We're going to walk. Now listen. Because, hang on. Because there's a lot to do. You got a lot to do. So no falling behind. Oh, there goes my razor. There goes my razor phone. Don't laugh.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's all. That was cute. That's all right. So how long has she been doing this now, Lou?
Good question,
Did
and
it
I
say?
don't know the answer to that.
Oh, no, that's okay. So she just came up with this as a way to help people in dealing with their grief.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So in that situation, and you know, basically, I guess she's playing the role of a young child who had passed away and left her family, and she was greeting them at the pearly gates.
When she said, "Hey, you want to be a princess? You get to play that." Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, man, listen, thank you. That definitely was a different WTF today.
You never know what
And
to expect. Never know.
yeah. And the cool thing is, though, what I love about it, you know, now some people might be judgmental, but what I love about it is the fact she is trying to do something to make a difference in people's lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. So my
Right.
question is, for all of us, my challenge to you is, what are you doing and what are you going to do? And we're hoping that, like this young lady who has been, she's the gatekeeper for Heaven's Gate, you will decide to get in touch with the City Rescue Mission so you can see how you can help them in their mission, being a gate to people to helping them have a better life. Thank you again, Ms. Jaime Bryant Williams, for joining us. Thanks again, Lewis, for taking care of things today. You have been listening to The Urban Therapist. I'm your host, Eddie Jean Hall Jr., and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
The healer might come today. The healer might come and take. The healer might come and take away the pain. He might come and take it all away.
City Rescue Mission was started really by 3 Christian businessmen in downtown Jacksonville who saw a need down there where there were hungry people on the street, and they decided to fill their own thermoses and bring it out to the streets and serve soup to everyone who was hungry.
The healer might bring the rain. The healer might leave you in a hurricane.
City Rescue Mission, for me and my wife, it helps us live out our Christian faith. Scripture talks a lot about the poor and how we as believers, followers of Christ, are supposed to take care of the widows, the disenfranchised, the poor. Jesus said the poor will have with us always. In the Old Testament, just reading this past week in Proverbs, that it's our responsibility to take care of the poor.
Come on, keep it steady as the sun, let the body say we aren't in our final phrase.
There's Gerald with some graduating students. To see the smiles on their faces, and they don't necessarily come in to City Rescue Mission with a smile, but to see them smiling and knowing that they have hope. They have hope that they have a future, and we've helped facilitate that for them.
To those who are considering supporting the mission, I would say thank you. Thank you for being a good Samaritan. Thank you for looking at pain and the wounds of others and not turning the other way. I would say thank you when given the choice between judgment and mercy, choosing mercy. Thank you when given the decision to choose between compassion and indifference, choosing compassion. I would also challenge you. I would challenge you to plant that consideration, because I assure you a blessing will grow.
Providing love and compassion to those in need in the name of Jesus Christ. And that's really what we're all about, is showing the love of Christ to those who need help. And we're the hands and feet of Christ out there.
That's why we're here. That's what we're all about. It's not just to run an institution, a ministry. It's about being used as instruments to let God change people's lives.
The sun awaits the day, and I'll await the time when I'll look you in the eyes and say, oh, I'll say I do. I do.